Adam, this movie is super funny. You direct it, you write it. I have to ask though, where did the idea even come from? It's quite timely though, so maybe that's where it came out of.
It's funny. It's become more timely. Les and I were just talking about this yesterday. It's become more timely in the time since we made it because we started shooting it in 2020. At the time, we felt like maybe we were a little ahead of it, and now it feels like it's really the right time. But I think the idea for it really just came out of this desire on my part to want to live a more authentic life and sort of strip away artifice and strip away inauthenticity and strip away things that didn't really feel true to the life that I wanted to live. And so Ethan, I kind of made this exaggerated form of that. And then, for the character of Dottie, I had a really close relationship with a child caregiver who I had stayed really close with throughout my life. And I just wanted to imagine a world in which she could become everything that she was supposed to be. So it was really about writing a movie where anybody could be who they were supposed to be. And those were kind of my two inspirations for it.
Well, the casting is incredible, yourself included.
Thank
Were
you.
you always in mind to play Ethan?
I was always in mind for myself. The director only had one person in mind for the role of Ethan. But yeah, look, I was always an actor first. I was an actor before I did anything else in this business. And part of the stripping away of the inauthenticity, I think, was getting back to acting. I mean, just at the purest sense, that was why I got into movies, because I wanted to act. And so I wrote this role for myself. But yeah, definitely.
Well, Miss Uggams, this is such a wonderful role for you as well. You certainly shine as Dottie. Was there something about Adam's pitch? Was there something about the premise? What was it about Dottie, maybe herself, that truly made you want to embody this role?
Well, that had a lot to do with it too. For some reason, when we met, I felt the connection right away. And I loved the story because we live in a world that's youth, and people over 65 still have a lot to contribute to the world, and they have dreams. We live in a world where we think, well, when you're young, you can have your dreams, but then after you get a certain age, you can't. You have to settle for things, and that's what I love about this character, that somehow she was on a journey and she didn't even realize that she was on the journey. And then she meets this crazy, wild man, and it's like, what the heck? But somehow there's something that happens between them that changes their lives. And that's what I loved about the story. I love Dottie. She reminds me of a lot of people from my old neighborhood. I grew up in Washington Heights, who were, they were doing their 9-to-5 jobs, not necessarily what they wanted to do, but they still had hope. And that's what I felt about Dottie, that some way around the corner, she's going to be involved in something that's going to change her life.
Well, I'm sure Adam wrote the perfect script, but did he allow you much room to improv then when it came to scene work?
Yeah, I mean, there was times when Adam would say, this is a better line, and but it was not really one of those scripts where you're like, oh God, we got to take this whole section out now and I'll come up with ideas. It was there. It was always there. Anything that was changed was maybe a line to be more specific about certain things. And the wonderful thing about it is that we communicated. So there were times when I would say something to him and he would think about it, and then we try it and it worked.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback off that because there was a specific section of the movie that we basically worked on together after the movie got shut down, because the movie got shut down for COVID, and during the shutdown, the George Floyd riots happened, and we felt like, hey, we're doing this light comedy about very serious issues, and we might need to address these issues even more seriously than we have been in the first pass in the original script. And so we went and we added a scene. Leslie and I worked on it together, and a new scene that's in the movie. which I think is a really important scene, but it just showed how the world was changing, and Leslie was very involved in that process.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of my favorite scenes because
mine too.
There's this honesty that really happens in this scene where, oh, we both get it.
I mean, Adam, I was just about to ask you, was there a scene that you wrote that you were impressed or seeing up on the screen when you finally watched it back, or maybe one that challenged you the most? But it sounds like there's one that's certainly the most poignant to you, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny when I watch the movie. Sometimes the beginning, look, the character has to go on a journey, right? So the beginning, Ethan in particular, he's so outlandish and he's so it's actually hard for me to watch, and like I'm waiting for him to strip some of that away and get to a more authentic place. But that scene that we just referenced, I think for me too, has become just so poignant. And I can't imagine the movie without it. There's different scenes, where we have some of some where Gary Owen or David Koechner are improvising, which was not something that I had written, where I thought, oh, that's hilarious. Like when Gary does caw in the door, that was just something he invented in the moment, which I love. But I really think, and the boardroom scenes, which we shot in part 3, again, this was shot in 3 parts over a year and a half. So there's one scene, I won't tell you which one, but there's one scene where we shot one side of it in Oklahoma City, doubling for Dallas. And then the other side, we shot in New York City, doubling for Oklahoma City, doubling for Dallas. So it's like you can't, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff when I watch it. But I don't know, that was a long answer to a short question.
Ms. Uggams, this is such a poignant, as we've touched on, film, and quite timely as well. What do you hope lingers with the audience after watching Dotty and Soul?
It's never too late. I mean, not only for her character, but for Adam's character. And you're never too old to grow. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the relationship between these two. They learn so much from each other, and they become better people because of it. And I think the thing, when I was doing Roots, I remember we were talking to Alex Haley, we were talking about the fact that people need to listen to the older people because there is some wisdom there. You can learn something, but at the same time, you can learn something from the younger person. And that's what I think is so wonderful about their relationship, because both of them learn and become better people because of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to say one more thing just about Leslie. The role of Dotty, I think, requires somebody that has almost like you can just sense that they were supposed to have a bigger life than they have. It requires that essence. It's like a regality or something. And there's really very few people on earth that do that like Leslie does that. I mean, Leslie is, she people refer to her as Queen Leslie, and people always say that, but like she's got a royal essence, which I think really shines out of her as a person. I think it's probably the reason why she's had such a legendary career for so long, in addition to her talent and her kindness and all the things. But she has some kind of regal essence, which I think she brings to Dotty, and I think that's why the movie works, in my humble opinion.
I can't follow that. The thing that I loved about Dotty is that she's still curious. That's the thing. She's not, settling life, sitting in the living room watching television. She is still curious, and she's willing to jump off the cliff and see where she lands.